Well, President Obama weighing in on the Food and Drug Administration's decision to expand access to a morning after pill. At a news conference in Mexico, the president saying he is, quote, comfortable with the agency's decision to allow 15-year-olds to buy Plan B with no prescription, something that critics argue could encourage sexual activity and that some have likened to an abortion pill. But the president insists that the decision was based on scientific evidence. Watch this.
That's the FDA's decision to make. That's Secretary Sebelius' decision to review. But I'm very comfortable with the decision they've made right now based on solid scientific evidence for girls 15 and older.
It doesn't sit well with a lot of folks, but that's where we are right now. Joined now by Julie Roginski, a former political advisor to Democratic Senator Frank Lautenberg of New Jersey. She's a Fox News contributor. And Brad Blakeman is a former deputy assistant to President George W. Bush. Brad, let me start with you. The president had his say, as you just heard. He says he's okay with 15-year-olds being able to buy it just over the counter. In some cases, it would be available right on a retail shelf. If something happens, they're active and they want to make sure they're not pregnant, they can just pop into the local drugstore and pick this up and take it. What do you think?
Martha, this makes no sense at all. You have to be 18 years old to buy a pack of cigarettes. And the president is also encouraging criminal behavior because in most jurisdictions in America, engaging in sexual intercourse at 14, 15 years old is statutory rape. So the president is somehow saying if you engage in that activity, criminal behavior, that's okay because the government is going to provide you the out for your bad decision making, and also strips away parental rights. Who is the government to come in and tell parents that your rights are usurped and that children can make their own decisions, and they also don't have to tell you the bad decisions they make and they have an out for making those bad decisions. The parents have a superior interest over the government for the health, safety, and welfare and what's in the best interest of their children.
You know, we had Dr. Manny Alvarez here the other day, Julie, and he, has delivered thousands of babies. He's an obstetrician, a gynecologist. He was so upset about this. He said they're giving them out like candy. He said there are, college students who think that this is contraception. It's what they use, day after pill in order to, as a matter of course in their lives. Does that not trouble you?
Well, if the goal here is to prevent unwanted pregnancies, and the goal here is not to have abortions or not to have kids at the age of 15 or older delivering babies, this is Plan B. I mean, this is really the best description for it. Because we have to be realistic. Look, I agree with Brad. Would I rather 15-year-olds not do something that they can't live with the rest of their lives? Of course, but we have to be realistic. 15-year-olds and people who are older do have sex. And if they do have sex, isn't the whole point here to prevent them from getting pregnant? And this is the best way to prevent conception. This is not an abortion pill. It actually prevents pregnancy, and that's the best thing we could possibly do to prevent kids who actually do go out and have sex from making decisions that ultimately would result either in a live birth to teenagers or in an abortion, which is both a horrific, and both of those are not options that I think are ideal.
Brad, I think some people would quibble with that definition.
Absolutely. Look, this strips away the moral fabric of our country. It's the government basically being complicit in a criminal act, and also complicit in coming into the houses of America and telling the parents, we're going to bring up your children. We're going to be able to provide better for your children than the decisions that you may make at home. I think it's an outrage, but it's the modus operandi, Martha, of this administration. What they can't get by legislation, they do by administrative law or edict, or by executive order, and their philosophy is if you don't like it, sue us. And we do. We sue you on health care, on immigration, on environmental policy. This is bad policy, not only in law, but in the moral values of our country.
Well, what's the message, in the moral fabric, as Brad says, when the president, if you're 14, 15 years old, you say, well, the president says I should be able to have this, Julie?
Well, look, again, you're living in a world that just doesn't exist. The bottom line is just because you don't want kids who are 15, 16-year-old to have sex, you're going to punish them, but you're going to punish them by not providing them with the means to not get pregnant. At the end of the day,
but isn't it encouraging it, is my question.
It's not encouraging it, Martha. These kids are going out and doing it. The president's not encouraging it. All the
Julie,
president is doing, let me finish,
Julie,
Brad. All
let
the
me ask you a
president,
question.
all the president is doing, and all the FDA is doing, is assuring these kids that if they go out and do this, and nobody's advocating they do, but if they go out and do this, that they don't get pregnant. And for
So
people
should
who
we
don't want
decriminalize? Should we decriminalize statutory rape and say that if
Brad.
you're 15, go out and have sex
Brad, first
as
of all,
a matter of law?
Brad, first of all, statutory rape is if a 15-year-old sleeps with a 25-year-old, not as a 15-year-old has sex with
18
another
and above.
15-year-old.
No, it
right,
depends on the jurisdiction.
Well, Brad, I'm sorry to tell you, but it's going on out there. You can bury your head in the sand, but people are having sex at the age of 15. You might not like it.
Why should government be condoning it?
All right,
Government's
guys.
not condoning it, but if you don't give
We
them
gotta
the tools
go.
to prevent pregnancy, they'll have abortion and pregnancy.
It's a big issue, whether or not
Absolutely.
this condones it, whether it encourages it, and I think a lot of people feel that it does. And Julie and Brad, thank you very much for
Thank
being
you.
here. We'll see you both soon.
Thanks.
Boy.
You guys were talking.